you become so aware of how much we have all in our modern Western society, especially, been conditioned to look without, to look around, to look for approval, to ask, to see what's on the media, to see what our peers think, to see what our parents think, to see what our friends think, our colleagues, before we look within. And we are born with this. We're born with this. All animals are born with this. All living creatures are born with this. Hi everyone. Happy Lunar New Year. So Year of the Fire Horse. Sorry, it's been a little moment. I have been moving house, and so I am in a new space now, in a new studio. So the lighting behind me is not great, but you know, it is what it is, and we're rolling with it. And you might get a little bit of new noises from outside, but see how we go. I wanted to talk today about in the light of this new year of the Fire Horse, a year that's supposed to carry us forward with a lot of momentum, and it is about being very connected to our truth, to our inner truth, which really aligns really well with something that I have been working on a lot. Actually, it's been kind of a way of living for me, a new way of living. I've always lived intuitively, but kind of living from, your internal intuition, your internal compass, if you will. So it's something, I'm an intuitive person. I've always I've always lived my life to a degree according to my intuition, but since I've been on plunged into my whole spiritual awakening journey, and there's been so much transformation, so much shift. I'll talk more about that in another video, and I have talked about it in some other videos as well, but I'll keep it away from me for now. But one thing that I have really learned, and it wasn't so much a decision to start living this way as it was, I was really shown no other choice. I was just guided rather forcefully to live this way, in the sense that if I didn't come from a place of following my own intuition, of listening to my inner voice, my inner self, my whatever you want to call it, my higher self, my soul, which is all your inner compass. This is all your inner internal guidance system that we all have. If I found myself slipping out of that state, or whenever I wasn't in that state, or whenever I lost that connection to that higher self, that inner compass, I found that I was served up a great deal more suffering than an already difficult amount of suffering that has been going on through all of the ego, dissolution and shedding and past traumas and layers and layers and layers of stuff. So any of you guys going through it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot, and you learn very quickly, especially when it's a kind of rapid process, and it happens kind of rapidly, like mine has, where it kind of started off with a bang. It's not always the case. Sometimes I guess it's a slower burn, but in my case, it was rapid, and it was kind of aggressive in its velocity. And so it really, one really positive thing, and a lot of really positive things have come out of it. I mean, I'm growing and transforming and shifting in phenomenal ways, but it comes at a very high price. There's a lot of challenge, a lot of profound challenges, and a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, but it is really, undeniable, the shift that happens. And one of the greatest things, getting back to my point, that I have noticed and that I have started to cultivate inadvertently from this experience, is really tuning in with that higher knowing, and really learning to live from your inner compass, I'm going to refer to it as. We all have this inner guidance system. We're all born with it. Babies, we come into the world as babies, as small children, and we know what makes us happy. We know what makes us sad. We know when we want to eat. We know when we want to play, sit up, stand up, sit down, who we want to play with, what to touch, what not to touch, all these things, even though we make a lot of mistakes about these things, but we know we have a guidance system, and we're born with it. And as we get older and the ego begins to develop, we learn to kind of ignore it and to think our way over the top of that. We learn to begin to think only rationally because we live in that kind of society that you're only rewarded and encouraged to use this brain, and the thinking mind, the analytical mind, and you're discouraged from connecting back to your heart intelligence, your gut intelligence, and your divine intelligence, which is where we came from. And for many of us, most of us, a huge amount of us, especially if you're on any kind of awakening journey, but just even if you're not, yeah, I mean, we're all growing as souls. We're all here on this planet Earth to grow. We were all born into this earth to grow. We are finding our way back to that. And for some of us, it takes a lifetime or many or several. And yeah, it's really about peeling off those layers. So really what I'm talking about here is not about adapting some new self-improvement way of being and adding something to your regime. It's about centering back in and allowing the layers of what you are not, that you have built up over the years and decades, to fall away, and returning back to your true self, to your divine essence and that guidance system that you have within you. And it is profound how the internal shift shows up. I'm only just beginning to see my outer world shifting. There's been a huge amount of outer transformation as well as inner transformation. And I'm still really, really just, really navigating things from day to day, like huge amounts of shifts, obviously. I said, I'm living in a new place, and a lot of other things about my old life have just completely shifted. And I realized, it was my birthday recently, and I realized a few people were asking me, what I saw for the year ahead. And I thought, wow, for the first time in my life, I can't say. Like I actually have found that I'm living minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, and week to week. So I can really think about a few days or a week ahead, and that's about where it stops. And I realize that's how much I'm living in the present moment. And I don't mean that as like, oh, that's wonderful, that's how everyone should live. I understand that long-term planning is necessary for living in this 3D world. That's a different conversation. And that's not the point that I'm making. Of course, it's important to plan in advance. And I will return to that as well. But being in such a huge state of flux as I am right now, this is as far as like my soul will let me go. And I'm meditating more than I ever have. I'm centering in more than I ever have. And I'm focusing and dedicating a lot of energy to anchoring myself in the present moment. Once again, it hasn't been because, I decided that was necessary. It's been because that was the course of where I've managed to center myself the most in what has been the most challenging point of transformation of my lifetime. So, but it has been a fascinating thing, because it's not been so much a conscious choice as much as it's been something that has kind of just evolved. And I'm still really new to it, still really navigating it, but I just thought that it lined up nicely with the year of the horse, because as we know, the energy is basically a lot of us have already been getting dragged along a really hectic path already, but last year was the year of the snake, the wood snake, which is a lot more introspective, a lot more yin energy, a lot more going inside, hermit mode, incubation mode, that kind of thing definitely was for me. I'm still in the hermit mode. But this is a lot more yang energy, a lot more outward, a lot more fast-paced, forward-moving. So the idea is that you'll be kind of catapulted even further, even faster into wherever you're setting, your energy. And that doesn't mean that it's all about just kicking goals and everything going great for you. It can obviously also bring a huge amount of challenge, especially if you're, if your compass is pointed in the wrong direction, or if you're what's brought you up to this point in your life hasn't been in alignment with your truth. And this will be a time, I think, where it becomes abundantly clear to us how aligned we are with our truth, and where that takes us. I think anything that is out of alignment for me has definitely been shifting in a way that cannot be ignored. And I think it's been the same for many others. And this year, I think, is going to fast track that and put even more kind of horsepower, to, excuse the pun, behind it. It's going to accelerate that. It's going to accelerate you into wherever you're setting your sights. Good, bad, right, wrong, living in alignment with your truth or not. And I think it'll be an interesting ride. So I think it's a really, really important time for us to focus on living from our truth. And how do you do that? I mean, that comes from, like I said, spending time meditating or centering yourself. It might be art, it might be reading, it might be writing. It could even be, martial arts or some type of movement, sport, yoga. Obviously, I'm a yogi as well. So for me, yoga, meditation, painting, art as well, which I haven't had much time for in the last few weeks because of all that's been going on. But all these things get me back to my center point. And so, and also spending time in nature. Breathing, breath work. I mean, breath work, the term breath work, I feel sounds a little convoluted. It's just conscious breathing. That's what breath work is, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. And they're always like, what is this breath work? I've never used the term, but I use it now just because I refer to it just because that's how it's known. But it's conscious breathing. So finding whatever feels good in your breath and breathing deeply, breathing consciously, breathing rhythmically. All these things are going to help you to get to your 0 point, your center point, and still the mind, and really just getting into the practice, just like meditation, just like everything else, physical fitness, everything else. It's really about repetition. It's a practice. So it's about going within again and again and again and again. And it's one of those things that the more you do it, the more you will see and feel a shift. Don't expect it to be some kind of magic pill. But that's like anything, everything I just listed, physical, non-physical, it requires repetition and it is a practice. And, including art, everything like that. So really, really important time, I think, for us to find our center, find grounding, and find our inner compass, reconnect with our inner compass. If you feel like you're just constantly in a state of distraction, constantly in a state of looking outward, looking through the eyes of the ego that is outward to the physical world, scrolling online, absorbing content or, whatever it might be, watching TV, listening to podcasts, and all that stuff is totally fine and valid. But making sure that you prioritize at least a small part of the day, at least once a day, preferably multiple times a day. You'll find the more you do, the more you want to do, though. You start to get used to it. But prioritizing that stillness and going within at least several times a day, and that you'll find that the more that you do that, the more you become aware of that internal compass, that inner knowing. It's a practice and it takes time. So just be aware of that. But once you do start to gain a little bit of momentum and form a bit of a habit and turn it into something that you just do, you'll get more and more comfortable with it, and you'll get more and more guidance, and it's incredible. It's really incredible. We're born into these worlds. We are here as instruments for our souls. If anyone has seen, I think her name's Mahari Shikar. She's an Indian guru who has some videos on on YouTube. Sorry, go check her out if you haven't seen her. She's really good, and she is really great for this. And this is basically what she teaches: is coming back to the soul and serving as an instrument to the soul. And I found her just at the right time where it's something that I was already beginning to cultivate, but the way she speaks about it is very helpful. So I would definitely recommend checking her out. But it's just incredible what you can find and what you can learn, and how it just makes you so aware when you begin to practice this on a daily basis, when you begin to live from your inner compass, your inner guidance system, your inner truth, you become so aware of how much we have all in our modern Western society, especially, been conditioned to look without, to look around, to look for approval, to ask, to see what's on the media, to see what our peers think, to see what our parents think, to see what our friends think, our colleagues, our partners, whatever it is, before we look within. And we are born with this. We're born with this. All animals are born with this. All living creatures are born with this. Now is the time we need to reconnect. So the fire horse is catapulting us forward. It's pulling us forward. And we need to make sure that our guidance system is switched on, and we need to make sure that we are being pulled forward and propelled forward towards something that is in line with our highest truth and is not the ego sneaking in and telling us, oh, you want more money. Oh, you want to be more sexy. Oh, you want to, be more attractive. Oh, you want to have more things, or you want more status or prestige. Make sure whatever it is that you're manifesting, whatever it is that you're being catapulted toward, and there's nothing wrong with making money, and there's nothing wrong with being attractive and looking great, of course, but make sure that you're moving from your soul. Make sure that your inner guidance system is pointed to your truth. And your soul, being in soul doesn't mean not caring about your physical appearance or not caring about money or not caring about those things, but it means having a respect for those things, taking care of your body, because it is your vessel. It is what allows your soul to experience, your consciousness to experience this reality. So it's incredibly important. But, certain things like, buying lots of stuff. I mean, that's not really soul driven. There are certain things that ignite your soul and you might want to spend some money on, but we all know what I'm saying, I think, so it's pretty clear. But yeah, just making sure that our overall direction in life, our overall way of conducting ourselves with other people, with ourselves, internally, externally, in the world, how we prioritize our lives, everything like that is coming from that real deep inner truth. And sit with yourself and ask yourself, to try and tap in and feel if you hear or see anything, if you can actually detect that presence. I mean, some people have gone most of their lives and never, since they were little kids, and never checked back in, never reconnected with that. Whereas for others, it'll be a lot more. It'll come a lot quicker because they're living a lot more from their soul, just naturally, and they're used to using a lot more of their intuition. So, and this is also the overall overarching theme of the divine feminine energy kind of coming back in as well, because it has nothing to do with man, woman, male, female, but it is about reconnecting with that inner guidance system, which is, the foundation of nature. Like I said, every living being has it. So something really, really important, I think, to focus on in this new year. So I'll leave it there, but I think I'd like to do another video just on this because there's a lot to say. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below, and remember to like and subscribe if you liked this video. And I wish you all a very happy start to the Fire Horse Lunar New Year. I will show you actually a particular artwork that I have that resonates really nicely with this year, so I might link that below. But thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.